Hey, it's Liam again, and I'm back with more film premises about cinemas. I created these in 2019, and I posted it on Facebook, and you get reminders of it. So I saw them when the reminder came back up that I'd done it, and I thought I'd go through them for you. So I'm up to number 40. There's about 93 in total. The total number changes as I improve my counting skills, but today we'll do 40, and we'll get through 4 of them. It starts with a story of residents of Mars and their struggle against their misportrayal by the Earth film industry. That's complicated. So in the far future, there are people living on Mars, and the media on Earth does not portray them genuinely. And so this is the struggle of people from Mars and them. It's about stereotypes, and I guess an easy parallel would be the inclusion of the way that Native Americans were included in westerns. Maybe there was just 3 different ways they were partners, villains, or victims. To oversimplify something that's already oversimplified and very complicated. But it's the question of who gets to portray people that aren't in control. So obviously the people that make media get to control how they themselves are depicted. But is there any control for anybody else? Are we talking about something that's commercial, or are we talking about something that's art? So if we stay on the topic of maybe Native Americans, a film could be made by Native Americans, of Native Americans, but is it going to be a commercial success in a popular culture, cinema-wide, national-wide, international release? Or is it going to be a film festival type project that earns great acclaim, but studios aren't going to really jump on those as money spinners? So who gets to, do studios, if they're just making a money-making movie, pop, summer blockbuster, exciting, dramatic, and the stories of maybe not just Native American or any particular group, to include them in that, they end up being parodied in it instead of because those type of popular movies aren't realistic, and even the dominant demographic group in that is also stereotyped and cliche. So do you end up leaving people out of these stories altogether when you can't broach the subject of them? And my parallel thinking for that is, how many overweight people do you see in Hollywood movies? How many obese people appear as normal folks, everyday folks who are everyday obese people in movies? Because you'd think that their inclusion would be a point, that may be a statement. And it's and if the movie's not about that, then you end up leaving them out. And then you end up having movies that exclude whole groups of real people, like obese people. And then when they do come in and somebody breaks that ceiling, I guess, there's all this acclaim for it, but it doesn't really change anything. Because the script writers don't write stories about them, and if they do, the studios don't pick them up for production. So that's I don't have any answers about any of this. It's the question of who gets to portray people in films, who gets to control that, and if the people portray them, depict themselves in films, is that going to be interesting to the audience, the wider audience that the studio is looking to reach out to? It's complicated. I don't have the answers for that, but that's what number 40 was about. 41 is a special interest group docudrama. Yeah, I'm staying serious here. A special interest group docudrama warning about the transformation of teacher-led classrooms into government-approved documentary screen theaters. I packed so many words into these, it gets really dense. So, in the not distant future, standardized education systems think, oh, well, there's, you know, we're teaching the subject hasn't changed in, you know, a couple generations, then why do we need live performances for students to learn this? So is this, is this elementary school? Is this high school? Is this college? And the needs of the kids at those ages varies wildly in terms of their independence. So to the hatred of many, I have many friends who are teachers, but a large part of teaching young children is caring for them during the day and making sure those kids are watched and minded all day long. Whereas in college, the kids just pop in and out of classroom. Their own fate is their own business. But the responsibility for children's safety is probably more important at an elementary level. So this is so what happens to these standard subjects when they just become pre-recorded tutorials? Pre-recorded, like, how many ways can you teach geometry? Probably a million, actually. But if the government decides that this is a way to do it, and they produce these, and like your introductory courses in college, could you really just watch them on YouTube if they're that introductory? You sit in those freshman courses, and there's like at least 100 people in that class. Everybody in that class is getting the same non-personalized education. So, and then you all leave, and another 100 people pile in an hour or so later for a slightly different, but basically the exact same. And next year, there'll be hundreds more students getting the exact same thing. Why do you need a live performer teaching those? So this is a special interest group docudrama warning about that slippery slope. So, okay, so maybe there are basic introductory courses that don't need a human to teach them in person, sharing the same box. But where does that stop? Where does it, well, now since the lockdown, you can do all the stuff online. You're not in the same box anymore. You're just, a Brady Bunch face on the screen, or not even that. But that's what it's about. I also don't have the answers for this, but that's what that one's about. 42, get really back into the fun stuff. During the demolition of a worn-out movie house, a worker discovers a walled-up door that leads to his own forgotten youth. Yeah, I end up with, a lot of these end with some, trite, trailing off nonsense. His own forgotten youth. Oh, right. A worn-out old movie house is being demolished, and the worker discovers a door. And, it's a portal, either Narnia or the Matrix, basic fantasy type stuff. But where does that lead? What world does it lead to? Well, it's the difference between an adult worker who works in demolition and his own youth. So maybe we're getting into something like The Ghost of Christmas Past with The Christmas Carol. Scrooge seeing himself as he was, as he forgot of how he was and why he turned out the way he did, having to face that and the things that you put behind you. It's things that are both traumatic and things that are joyful. So it's more of a, does he go into that world and actually be an adult in his own life as a child? And how does that, is he just a phantasm watching it? Or does he actually get to change things? Or does he get to, what does he get to do in there? And that's the adventure of that one. And also, it's all about the movie house as well. So, even in his youth, he's still tied into the movie house. 43. This is fun. All right. 43 is seats. I'm sitting on one. Seats. In all caps, seats. A foul send-up on the Cars franchise. It gets strong adult ratings due to the scenes containing the movie theater seat retirement home. So I know in the Cars franchise and that kind of, there aren't humans. The cars in the car franchise don't talk about their human drivers. So it's not that closely parallel to cars. So movie theater seats after they're retired, renovations, they are sent to a retirement home, where as they get older, their filters, they'll talk about anything, and the things that they saw on movie theater seats, that discussion leads to a strong adult ratings in this movie. The rest of the movie is irrelevant, and it doesn't have to make sense, but it's that, R-rated descriptions of what people do on movie theater seats. So yeah, that's another gem. You can just take that home with you. All right, so next time, I set these up so that next time is a very special one. It's going to be my favorite of the entire series, and so my next video will be focused specifically on that. So if you could turn into that, would be great. If you could leave a comment, all those other YouTube-y things. Subscribe, that's cool. I do have another series called 7 Sevens, which is going to end soon. So it's just random trivia. You can watch that one too. I don't know if I've got cards or stuff, YouTube-y stuff. All right, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.